दिन भर बिखरना, नींदों में झगड़ना मेरी आदत सी बन गई। झूठ की मिश्री घोलकर खट्टे नारंगी को शहद बोलना मेरी आदत सी बन गई। इन नम आंखों में चुभती बातों में कहीं ना कहीं ये पानी सी नमी मेरे हाथों से छूट गई। ये दुनिया मेरी जिंदगी को अपने नजरिए से देखना चाहती है। ये दुनिया मेरी काबिलियत को अपने हाथों में बांध लेना चाहती है, पर भूल जाती है ये दुनिया कि गुलाब को कस के पकड़ने से हाथ कट जाता है। मैं गिरती हूँ पर रुकती नहीं, मैं बिखरती हूँ पर झुकती नहीं, पर इस गिरने और बिखरने में मेरा भी तो दिल टूटता है। जब मेरी खूबसूरती तराजू में तोली जाती है, जब मेरी काबिलियत मेरे रंग में धोई जाती है, तब मेरा भी तो दिल टूटता है। जब इस टूटे दिल के जख्मों पर मरहम नहीं नमक लगाया जाता है, जब ये दुनिया भूल जाती है कि ये नमक जायका नहीं मगर चुभन लाता है, तब मेरा भी तो दिल टूटता है। मेरा भी तो दिल थोड़ा थोड़ा करके टूट जाता है।
Welcome. In the first season of the Stop the Beauty Test campaign, we talked about women feeling judged and rejected based on their looks during the marriage process. Now in season 2, we're going a step further. We're taking this a step further by rewinding the clock. The roots of a woman's self-esteem and confidence starts in her growing years. That is when, at their most impressionable, adolescent girls are exposed to stereotypical ideas of beauty, comparisons with a very narrow definition of beauty, and non-stop pressure to look a certain size, height or color, many times from their own families even. This is why globally a vast majority of girls between the age group of 12 to 16 have body image issues. This is where the beauty anxiety starts. This is the beauty test that this campaign aims to stop right where it begins, in one's adolescence. In this special town hall, we take the conversation back into our schools. Today we are at the gorgeous modern school Vasant Vihar to listen to the voices of young girls as they talk about the body image issues that make them feel insecure about their own bodies and lives. The pressure to conform to a certain type, a certain look, a certain idea of beauty starts right here, and right here in school is where we're going to try address it.
नमस्कार, हमारी इस खास पेशकश में आपका स्वागत है। सुंदरता चेहरे का नहीं, दिल का गुण है। ये बात कही तो बहुत जाती है, लेकिन हकीकत ये नहीं है। असल में ये होता है कि आप कैसे दिखते हैं, आपका रंग, आपका कद, आपकी शारीरिक बनावट कैसी है, इसके आधार पर आपको तौला जाता है, आपको जज किया जाता है। और बात लड़कियों की हो तो ये सब बहुत कम उम्र से ही शुरू हो जाता है। हमारे परिवार के लोग, रिश्तेदार, आस पड़ोस के लोग रंग रूप को लेकर बचपन से ही हमारे मन में ये बात डाल देते हैं, जो कहीं ना कहीं आत्मविश्वास को हिला देती है। तो ये सोच, ये माइंडसेट बदलना होगा। जैसे सूर्योदय की अपनी खूबसूरती है तो सूर्यास्त की अपनी, पहाड़ों की अपनी सुंदरता है तो समुद्र और नदियों की अपनी, वैसे ही आप जैसे हैं वैसे ही खूबसूरत हैं। अपनी यूनिकनेस को खत्म नहीं होने देना है। हमारी कोशिश यही है कि ये जो ब्यूटी के टेस्ट से गुजरना पड़ता है, इसे बंद करना होगा, और वहीं से बंद करना होगा जहां से ये शुरू होता है, यानी कम उम्र से। और इसीलिए आज हम दिल्ली के वसंत विहार में मॉडर्न स्कूल में हैं, जहां पर हमारे साथ छात्राएं हैं और तमाम खास मेहमान हैं।
All right, now before we get started, let's just introduce you to our very special guest. We are first of all joined by Meenakshi Sani. She is the principal of Modern School. Pleasure to be here, ma'am. This is a beautiful campus. We have Gitika Anand, the school counselor, joining us. We have the girls football captain Mannat Maurya, and I just want to also share with you all that the football team has just won the CBSE Under 19 National Football Championship Girls. That's really great news. Congratulations. We're also joined, of course, by the actor Huma Qureshi. who needs no introduction. She has spoken openly about body shaming and body image issues. She's been vocal in supporting many issues which also reflect in the unconventional roles that Huma has played. We have the clinical psychologist Kala Sen Gupta also with us today. She has more than 30 years experience in child development, behavioral issues, adolescent issues, and we have Julian Sedana, who is a class 11 student who is actually conceptualized and acted in a film that documents her journey of self-love, and it's called In Search of Julian. We also have an audience, as you can see here, of school seniors and girls and boys. Welcome everyone. Thanks all of you for joining us. Let's actually just start by doing a spot, a show of hands. Any one of you over here, put your hands up if you have faced a beauty test of one kind or the other. First, let's take a look at that. Almost everyone.
बिल्कुल, हम देख सकते हैं बहुत ज़्यादा हाथ जो है वो उठे हुए हैं यहाँ पर। तो किस तरह से जूझना पड़ता है इस चीज़ से, खासकर लड़कियों को। ये बात अब किसी से छुपी नहीं है, ये बात सबके सामने है।
What about a show of hands of how many of you have faced this test at the age of as early as 12 to 17? Okay, and lastly, how many of you have felt scarred in one way or the other by any of these comments? Well, we see mothers, we see daughters, everyone having the same experience.
बिल्कुल। तो स्कूल स्टूडेंट्स हमारे साथ हैं यहाँ पर, और हम सबको सर्टेन एज पर एक कुछ ना कुछ बदलावों से गुजरना ही पड़ता है, जो किसी के लिए भी आसान नहीं होता। किसी के लिए मुश्किल होता है, कुछ के लिए बहुत ज़्यादा मुश्किल होता है। पढ़ाई के साथ साथ ये जो हार्मोनल चेंजेस होते हैं मुश्किल हो जाते हैं, और उस वक्त कैसा महसूस होता है कोशिश करते हैं इसे और समझने की। हमारे साथ एक छात्रा है तमन्ना। तमन्ना, आप बता रही थी आपके वेट के चलते आपको काफ़ी मुश्किलों का सामना जो है वो करना पड़ा था। क्या आपका एक्सपीरियंस रहा था, क्या कुछ हुआ था, वो बताइए।
So weight has always been a big insecurity for me from a very young age, and during this pandemic period when online school started, I had a lot of time on my hands, and I turned this insecurity into motivation to exercise, and I started exercising a lot, and this motivation slowly turned into an addiction, and I went into extreme exercise routines where I was in pain physically and mentally, and I lost a lot of weight. And I realized when I lost that weight that my weight wasn't the problem, because I still wasn't happy. I still wasn't happy with the body I was in. The problem was my mindset, not the weight I had, not the weight I lost.
और जो आप सुन रहे थे, जो माइंडसेट वो आया, वो कहीं ना कहीं जो कमेंट्स आ रहे हो रहे होंगे, जो टीज हो रहा होगा, उसकी वजह से आया होगा।
Absolutely. I think in our society, weight is a very stigmatized concept, but people also talk about it like it's a dinner conversation. I've always heard comments about my weight, and that definitely fueled my insecurity.
Well, if for some it's weight, for some it's wearing glasses, otherwise it's, braces or your hair, it's something or the other. I have a Nishta here. Nishta, and I'm told you are picked on because of your hair, and I find that so surprising because you have beautiful hair. What's your story? क्या हुआ आपके साथ, बताइए।
जिस तरह से मैं आती हूँ वहाँ पे चोटी बनाना एक बहुत कॉमन सी चीज़ है। ज़्यादातर लोग चोटी बनाते हैं, और मेरे फैमिली या फिर मेरे फ्रेंड्स ने भी कभी मुझे एक अलग स्टीरियोटाइप नहीं किया इस चीज़ को लेकर। पर जब आप सोशल मीडिया पे जाते हो, वहाँ पे एक अलग ही दुनिया है। वहाँ पे अलग अलग तरीके के स्टाइल्स होते हैं, अलग अलग तरीके की चीज़ें होती हैं, तो वो कहीं ना कहीं मुझे इन्फीरियर फील कराती हैं। क्योंकि क्या मैं सही हूँ कि मुझे ऐसी जो मैं सिंपल रहती हूँ, सिर्फ चोटी बनाती हूँ, क्या मैं सही हूँ, या फिर जो एक ग्लैमरस वर्ल्ड है सोशल मीडिया पर वो सही है? और अगर मैं सही हूँ तो जैसे जो चोटी बनाते हैं, जो कम मेकअप करते हैं लोग, वो शो बेस पे फ्रंट पे कहीं क्यों नहीं दिखाए जाते हैं?
हर्षिता भी है हमारे साथ। हर्षिता, आपका अनुभव क्या रहा, आप भी हमारे साथ साझा करें।
People used to taunt me about my height a lot, कि अरे you play sports till you're so short. So why so short? And about my weight also, I used to be so fat. So I worked out a lot. Then I came to a point where I felt so exhausted with my own body. And it's just not about we are talking about our insecurities, but there is a point where even not just only society or parents have made a standard for us, even children have set up a standard for our parents, where we want them to expect that they should wear glamorous clothes when they are coming to our functions and all. So I feel really bad for my mama, because she is also a teacher. So she knows there are too many children who says a lot about teachers' dressing sense, the like she wears a big bindi or something, like all those her basically her beauty. So she feels very insecure about her wearing. So she on the morning she always asks me, what should I wear? Will I look good in this particular cloth or not? So I really feel bad for her. So it's just, even we also feel insecure about our body, even our mothers feel insecure. So we should be careful of what we are doing and the way we are judging
जिस
each
तरह से
other.
हर्षिता कह रही है कि सिर्फ वही नहीं, पेरेंट्स जो है, माएँ जो है, उन्होंने भी ये सब कुछ फेस किया है, जो अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी बात है। और ये आज से नहीं, ये सदियों से चला आ रहा है हमारे देश में, हम ये जानते हैं। और सिर्फ हमारे देश में नहीं, दुनिया भर में लड़कियों के साथ खासकर उन्हें ये फेस करना पड़ता है। कुछ माओं के पास मैं आना चाहूंगी। जी बताइए।
That started when I was maybe 9 years old or so, and I was constantly called moti, fatty, etc. And at some level it started bothering me, even more so when extended family would turn around and tell me that, you better start losing weight, you're never going to get married. Or that I even used to have people tell me that, oh, you're so dark. I come from a family where people are unusually fair-skinned in our society. But along with that also came the close-knit family that actually helped building this in me, that how you look doesn't matter and what you do is what is more important.
I think those are fascinating points, and we want to go into asking how that affects you as a mother and how you actually react or what tone you take with your kids. We'll come back to that in a bit. I do have the principal Sally here. Ma'am, I want to ask you first, you interact with adolescents every day. What are the issues that come to you or are brought to your attention, and has that changed over the years, because we're now living in a world of social media where we're always, under the glare of the camera?
Yeah, thank you. It's in my experience, there's a lot of bullying that happens, which it acquires a form of bullying. And this is very subtle, it's always there, and you never really discover it unless a platform such as this happens, and I think it's commendable that we are discussing these things. And it's confined also, I would say, more to urban centers rather than rural areas where there's perhaps lesser exposure to the social media, although I don't know whether I'm right about that today or not, but it's overexposure that leads to a lot of stuff happening. And the two major problems I noticed are to do with people being fat, as the word implies. For me, being fat is a medical condition, and it's that's where it rests, and the skin color and how good your skin is or not good. But these are all medical conditions. So if somebody is has an illness or suffering from some ailment, we don't go around calling them names. So why, if a person is overweight, is called fat? I think we need to work on the narrative around that.
बिल्कुल। और हुमा है हमारे साथ। हुमा को किसी तारुफ की यहाँ पर ज़रूरत नहीं है। जैसा कि प्रिंसिपल मैम ने बताया, हुमा आपने भी बॉडी शेमिंग फेस किया है, अब आपने फिल्म भी उस पर बनाई है XXL, हमने देखा उसी इशू को आपने कहीं ना कहीं टच किया है। आप थोड़ा पीछे लेके जाइए, जब आप फिल्मों में नहीं थी आपने क्या कुछ फेस किया, कैसे डील किया उस चीज़ से?
सबसे पहले तो आई थिंक दिक्कत शुरू वहाँ से होती है जब हमें जो गुड़ियाएँ दी जाती हैं, जो बारबी डॉल्स हमको दी जाती हैं खेलने के लिए। आई एम श्योर एवरीबॉडी इज प्लेड विद अ बारबी एट सम पॉइंट इन योर लाइफ। वो हमेशा गोरी होती है और हमेशा एक सर्टेन साइज की होती है। तो प्रॉब्लम वहाँ से शुरू होती है कि क्यों आप एक लड़की को जब कोई खिलौना देते हो तो बताया जाता है कि देखो ये सुंदर है, ब्लू आइड, फेयर, एक सर्टेन साइज की डॉल, नॉर्मल क्यों नहीं हो सकती? मतलब आपके जब मैट्रिमोनियल ऐड आते हैं हमारे अखबारों में, उसमें बोला जाता है फेयर और स्लिम लड़की चाहिए। क्यों जो डस्की और थोड़ी प्लस साइज होंगी, क्या उनको हक नहीं है शादी करने का या सपने देखने का? व्हाई कांट दे हैव अ हैप्पीली एवर आफ्टर? आई थिंक इन माई पर्सनल जर्नी ऑल्सो, बिकॉज मैं एक्ट्रेस हूँ, तो मतलब हमारे केस में तो जो बुलिंग है जो स्कूल में आई थिंक आपके बैचमेट्स करते हैं या घर पे घर वाले करते हैं, इन दैट सेंस तो और ज़्यादा बड़े रूप में होती है, ऑनलाइन होती है, ट्रोलिंग होती है, लोग कमेंट्स करते हैं। मेरे करियर में मेरी दूसरी फिल्म में एक रिव्यूअर ने, एक फिल्म क्रिटिक ने, बहुत सेलिब्रेटेड है वो, उन्होंने कहा था मेरे बारे में कि हुमा बहुत अच्छी एक्ट्रेस है, बहुत अच्छी अदाकारा है, बट मे बी शी इज़ 5 kgs टू हैवी टू बी अ मेन स्ट्रीम हिंदी फिल्म हीरोइन। तो मेरा सवाल उनसे ये था कि सर मेन स्ट्रीम हिंदी फिल्म हीरोइन का साइज़ क्या होता है, ये आपने कब डिसाइड किया और ये हक आपको किसने दिया? मैं पिछले 10 साल से काम कर रही हूँ और अच्छी फिल्में भी की हैं मैंने, बुरी फिल्में भी की हैं, सक्सेसफुल रोल्स भी किए हैं, अनसक्सेसफुल भी किए हैं, बट आई डोंट थिंक वो जो ये नैरेटिव है ना जो हमें बताया जाता है बचपन से, उस नैरेटिव को बदलने की ज़रूरत है।
Well, how do we try and change this narrative? We have a young lady here who's attempted to do that. She's made her own film. So tell us about this film, why you made it, and has it had the impact that you were hoping for on your friends, on your peers?
So I started boarding school when I was 10 years old, which is a very young age. And you go to an environment where there are people of different cultures and values and belief, and it's really hard to fit in, but obviously you want to feel belonged. So, I can't have just one or two friends, otherwise I'll be called a loner. And everyone over there who had a lot of friends had power. So I completely changed my personality and I became like this person who was mean or powerful and controlling, and I got friends, but then I was always in competition with other people. And so then eventually, due to some circumstances, I changed my personality and I became a people pleaser. And then if anyone would be like, can I have this of yours, or can I take this? And I'd be like, yeah, take it, even if I did not want to give it. I'd be like, yeah, of course, you can take it. And then I was living in such a complicated state of mind and I was so confused. But then thankfully lockdown came in and I got time to really sit down and journal and reflect on my thoughts and really think of who I had become and think of who I actually am. And then by the end of lockdown, my mother happened to read my journal, and then she thought that the messages that I wrote were supposed to be like heard by a larger audience, and so that's how we created the documentary. It just fell in place.
बिल्कुल। जूलियन, मैं आपकी मदर से भी यहाँ पर पूछना चाहूँगी, आप जब जूलियन के साथ ये सब कुछ चल रहा था, आपके अंदर क्या कुछ चल रहा था? आप कैसे उस चीज़ से फाइट आउट कर रही थी? क्योंकि आप एक मदर के तौर पर भी उसको सपोर्ट करना चाहती थी और कहीं ना कहीं आपको भी इस चीज़ ने परेशान किया।
जब ये सब चल रहा था, so she was sharing everything with me. जब boarding में भी she was dealing with a lot of things. So I knew everything, but then I think my only support to her was that I wanted, somewhere I'm a very spiritual person. So I always let her know, okay, like have the back of the universe back is with you. So just kind of go ahead and do what you feel is right, rather than कि कोई क्या कह रहा है, किसी की वजह से हमने क्या impact अपने. बट व्हाट आई फील इज़ हम कितना भी एज पेरेंट्स उस बच्चे को समझाने की कोशिश करें, जब वो उस एनवायरनमेंट में रह रहे होते हैं, समवेयर और द अदर they get impacted very deeply.
Definitely.
So that is, but then I think lockdown was a beautiful opportunity. It was a blessing in disguise, I could say that. So that is what altered the entire thing for her. Yeah.
कला सेन गुप्ता मैम भी है हमारे साथ। कला मैम, आप दशकों से इस चीज़ को हैंडल कर रही हैं। ये जो आप सुन रही हैं यहाँ पर जो छात्राओं को, क्या ये नॉर्मल है, क्या ये कॉमन है, ये होता रहा है? क्योंकि ये वो एज भी है जब आप हार्मोनल चेंजेस से गुजर रहे हैं, तो एक ये भी अपने आप में समस्या है। तो आप इसे किस तरह से देख रही हैं?
जहाँ तक मेरा जो क्लिनिकल एक्सपीरियंस रहा है, तो यहाँ पे एडोलेसेंट ही नहीं, एक 4th क्लास का बच्चा जो कि 7-8 ईयर्स का है, उस पर भी मेरे क्लिनिकल में जब मेरे पास केस आया, उस पर इस चीज़ का इफेक्ट पड़ा है। जब बहुत काउंसलिंग के बाद इतने छोटे बच्चे की काउंसलिंग करना कितना डिफ़िकल्ट होता है, वो क्या मेरे को डिस्क्लोज़ करती है कि मैं जब नर्सरी में थी तो मुझे फैमिली मेम्बर से बोला गया था कि तुम तो अपनी दादी से भी मोटी हो। उस बच्ची ने धीरे धीरे कैसे अपने दिमाग में लिया है, फिर उसने एक इमेज बना ली, जैसे जैसे मैं खाना खाऊंगी मैं जाइंट और ह्यूज फिगर हो जाएगा मेरा। धीरे धीरे उसने खाना छोड़ दिया, इवन एनोरेक्सिक उसमें चली गई। पूरे दिन में वो एक चॉकलेट का एक जो स्क्वायर होता है वो खाती थी वो। इस तरह से जब हमने उसको ट्रीटमेंट दिया है, जैसे ही उसने ये चीज़ सामने की, उसका जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट था वो रिजॉल्व हो गया। उसको समझ में आ गया कि कहाँ से शुरू हुआ था। आज वही लड़की एक सक्सेसफुल पीडियाट्रिशियन है। वाह। इसी तरह से सेकंड केस जो मैं बताती हूँ, जो फैमिली से ही शुरू होता है, यहाँ पे कहीं ना कहीं शायद पेरेंट्स एडोलेसेंट गर्ल्स के बारे में सोचते नहीं हैं और वो बताते नहीं है कि उनकी क्या नीड्स होती हैं, उनकी प्राइवेसी क्या चीज़ होती है। बाथरूम में वो लड़की नहाने जाती थी, इंग्लिश जो कम्बोर्ड होता है वो उनके पास एक ही था, दादी को आर्थराइटिस का प्रॉब्लम था, तो वो इतना वेट नहीं कर सकती थी कि वो लड़की बाथरूम से बाहर आ जाए। वहाँ बाथरूम के अंदर जाके उसके ब्रेस्ट के ऊपर कमेंट करना कि तेरा तो एक छोटा है एक बड़ा है, इस तरह की चीज़ें वो लड़की टोटल साइकोटिक डिप्रेशन में जब हो गई तब वो हमारे पास क्लिनिक में आती है। तो इस तरह के केसेस भी मैंने देखे हैं।
बिल्कुल।
तो यहाँ पे बहुत कुछ है जो बच्चे घर से शुरू होते हैं, स्कूल से शुरू होते हैं, अपने पीयर प्रेशर में आके वो करते हैं। यहाँ पे सब सारों तरफ से हमारे जो इन्वायरमेंट है उसमें चेंज लाने की जरूरत है।
Just touch upon the fact that we do live in joint families in India. Many of us do, and any other mum would like to talk about that, how much of a challenge that is, because you live in a larger family and you don't have control over what others say to your child.
So that's absolutely correct. We all live in a lot of us live in joint families, and I do too. So बहुत ही unconscious और subtle चीजें होती हैं when the child is said, नहीं चाय नहीं पीते काले हो जाते हैं. So it is as subtle as that. I think we've all heard that while growing up. Or if a child is underweight, the child is said, ये तो कुछ खाता नहीं, मम्मी कुछ देती नहीं क्या खाने को, पतले हो. So something like that. It is considered that if you're not a certain standard, you're also not healthy. So something like that, body shaming starts very subtly. And I, as a mother, I think I try very consciously to not impose it on my daughter and also on my son. So what I have started doing consciously now is not, let's say not wearing lenses or not, putting on makeup, because the child does not need to see me. So I can only lead by example.
Let's talk about how language makes a difference, right? We say things to tease people, we use words without realizing their impact, and then we end up unknowingly feeding into beauty biases that ultimately diminish self-esteem and body confidence. So we need to be aware of the use of affirmative language versus words that reinforce certain narrow stereotypes. And I'm told we have Aisha here. Aisha, go ahead. Let's listen, and you have an example you wanted to share with us.
So my hair is short, and typically this is it's just a regular haircut, right? But typically women don't get this sort of haircut. They're told to, have long hair, you're supposed to be thin, long hair, thick hair, look nice and everything, and okay, I mean, that's fine. But we're progressive now, right? We're progressing. This is a different generation. And still people think that, okay,
so
girls are supposed to have short hair.
What are the words you're told? And I like the fact that she's talking about short hair because I have short hair like you. But so what have you been told?
Right. So when I got my hair cut at first, when I reached school, the first few things that boys said to me at first were, oh, are you gay? Are you a lesbian? And I was like, wow, that's an assumption. That's an assumption about me that you don't know. You don't know who I am. And you're just assuming things about me. It's just a hairstyle. How can you just assume random things about me just because of the way I look? And I find that really offensive. It's quite disappointing since it's a new generation and all. Everyone.
You expected more. And
I honestly thought
from your own friends, from your classmates.
Exactly. I mean, it's a new generation. This is supposed to be normal. And then people are like, oh, are you gay? I find that pretty bothersome.
हमारे साथ राव्या भी हैं यहाँ पर. राव्या, आपके experiences क्या रहे हैं? आप भी share करें हमारे साथ.
So I also had a similar experience with my hair because my hair is pretty short as well, and I play tennis alongside it. So I've had typically boyish interest debating as well. So even I've come under the assumption of me being gay or being a lesbian. And sometimes it comes from close people, sometimes it comes from people who I've never met in my life. For example, once I was at a tennis game, and this has happened numerous times when women, parents who I don't know, who I have never met before, have come up to me and they've told me about the color of my skin. Because I used to play tennis a lot, so I was very heavily tanned. And they said, well, you're fair, you're pretty, just wear those sleeves so that you don't get tanned any further. So I said, the problem is not that I might be harmed by the sun because of UV radiation, but your problem is that I'm too dark. Why is that a problem? Why isn't anyone focusing on my game?
Ravya, let me tell you, you're very strong.
I know.
Sarah भी हमारे साथ. Sarah, please, आप भी बताएं. आपको आपकी mother के साथ compare किया गया? आप बताइए.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. So I just wanted to say a little something about how I've been compared to my own mother. So my mom's really fair with green eyes, and I'm obviously not. I'm a little dusky and I absolutely love it. But there have been times where it's so sad that I've been compared to my own mom. Even though my mom's never directly said anything to me, but family members. Sundar hai, but maa jitni sundar nahi hai. So I just wish sometimes people would look into, you know, someone's soul and then a beauty rather than the color of their skin color and how dark or light they might be.
So these are worrying because I think a lot of these examples have come from people who you know intimately, people who may not be meaning to harm you, but have asked you these questions. So Sengupta ma'am ji, agar aap hame bata sakte hain, can you give us examples of language that subconsciously reflects a bias, and also examples of what can be a positive, if you have a concern and you want to raise it, how can you do it positively?
Yes. यहाँ पे पेरेंट्स का इंटेंशन नहीं होता है बच्चे को हार्म करने का या किसी तरह का नेगेटिव वो करने का, लेकिन वो बच्चे में शायद वो जो आज का जो मीडिया है वो देखना चाहते हैं इमेज में कि मेरी बच्ची कैसी दिखे या मेरा बच्चा किस तरह से दिखे। तो जब ये थॉट उनके दिमाग में आता है तो एक उनके दिमाग में आता है कि मैं क्या अपने बच्चे को चेंज कर सकती हूँ। तो वहाँ पे वो उनके जो वर्ड्स आ जाते हैं कि बजाय ये कहने के कि यदि तुम अपने को इस तरह से करो तो तुम इम्प्रूव हो सकते हो, तो वो सीधे डायरेक्ट बोल देते हैं कि आप बहुत मोटे हो गए हो, या आपका स्किन बहुत टैन हो गया है, या आपका जो ड्रेसिंग सेंस है ये ड्रेस आपको सूट नहीं कर रहा है। तो वो जो ड्रेस सूट नहीं कर रहा है वो इम्पॉर्टेंट नहीं है, वहाँ पे पेरेंट्स के लिए ज़रूरी है ऑफ कोर्स आप बच्चे को कॉन्शियस कीजिए उस चीज के बारे में, लेकिन बिना उसको हर्ट किए, बिना उसको हर्ट किए।
That's a great point. Let's bring in some more parents over there, maybe Aditi. You know, the fact is that I think parents at some level realize that our children live, this is the world we live in. It is an unfair world, it's an unreal world, and in their lifetime that they will have to deal with all of this when they go to try and get a job or in the workspace. But any responses to this, that this is not intentional by parents, and wish perhaps we could be informed better so as to how to deal and how to raise our kids?
Yeah, taking on from there, Sarah, what you said. So most of the times it is not the bad intention that the parents carry. It is just that they want, to protect their children from rest of the world. So instead of the others pointing on to their children, they feel that it is them who should take the corrective actions.
तो ऐसी बहुत सारी दिक्कतें हैं जो हर लेवल पर आ रही हैं सारा, जैसे कि अगर पेरेंट्स के लेवल पे तो वहाँ पर वो किस तरह की लैंग्वेज यूज़ कर रहे हैं, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। प्रिंसिपल मैम, आपके पास मैं आना चाहूँगी यहाँ पर, किस तरह की लैंग्वेज से आप लोग डील करते हैं, क्योंकि कई बार ऐसे होता है कि ये जो यंग स्टूडेंट्स हैं, यंग जो बच्चे हैं, इनकी सेल्फ स्टीम को हर्ट करता है, उसे डैमेज करता है। आप किस तरह से डील कर रहे हैं स्कूल में इससे? किस तरह की भाषा आपको सुनने को मिलती है? क्या लैंग्वेज जो है वो टीज करने के लिए यूज की जाती है?
Honestly, we do not discover the language that is being used because that happens perhaps in nooks and corners, in corridors where there is no adult supervision sometimes, and it's reported when things precipitate or go beyond control. That's when you discover. But yes, there are unexpected instances where you get to know what's happening. For instance, I can just relate an example from my recent experience. There's this child whose performance is being discussed in my office, and he's come with his grandmother. And in the middle of the conversation, I noticed that the child wasn't wearing his uniform belt, and I asked him where the belt was, and the grandmother quipped in to say, "ये बड़ा मोटा है तो belt नहीं पहनता." And as soon as the child heard that, said, "Oh, but I've cut down on carbs." Now I'm talking about a grade 6 child. Wow. So that speaks for itself. It's happening all the time. But the words and phrases used, I cannot really specify. You feel it instinctively.
मेरे साथ एक और टीचर भी हैं, असीमा मैम हैं। असीमा मैम, आप ल्यूकोडर्मा से उसको आपने फेस किया है, और आप जब से 7 साल की तब से आपने उसको फेस किया। क्या कुछ आपने सफ़र किया, क्या कुछ आपने फेस किया, और जब आप जब बच्चों से इंटरेक्ट करती हैं, ऐसी कुछ प्रॉब्लम्स फेस करती हैं, तो आप उन्हें क्या समझा रही होती हैं, क्या बता रही होती हैं आप?
That's right. When I was 7 years old, I started developing white spots on my skin. I was fortunate that my mother is a doctor and she also has leukoderma. It's an autoimmune condition where your body cells attack your pigment forming cells, pigment forming organelles. So she told me that don't worry about it. It's not, beauty is not skin deep, but beauty is all within you. So I think over the years, having very supportive parents, including my father and my brother, they all supported me, and I think somewhere having that inner circle of, inner circle, you're very close, people telling you that it's all right to be just normal and not to worry about it is very helpful.
I like everything will turn out fine. Let's hope that. But Huma, if I could bring you in over here, you have Principal Seni. She talked about how in her experience she felt anecdotally that the pressure was more in urban areas, kids who are more exposed. I think that was the word ma'am had used. So exposure, I'm guessing that means advertisements, films, etc. And you're an insider in the film industry. How much of a difference do you think, or the role that films play on the mindsets of young kids? What can you do as an insider? You've just out with this film Double XL. What do you hope can change when people are watching your films? Do you keep this in mind when you pick roles, when you accept roles?
That's a lot of questions, but I'll start with just expressing just sadness, because when I was growing up and what the kids were talking about, like it really hasn't changed.
Yes.
It hasn't changed much. From Golu, Motu, Hatni, Elephant, are you gay? These kind of comments, chai piyoge, saab liyoge, it's not really changed much. So that's a very sad
Perhaps
reality.
gone worse because of social media exposure.
And it has gone worse. And now, and you rightly said, I'm part of the entertainment business, and it was shocking to me that, the dark girl is never the one who's the heroine of the piece. The fat girl is always the one chasing the hero, who's avoiding her, saying, "Hey, tu moti hai." And I feel that kind of language somewhere reflects society as well, also pulls it down, because you feel when you see your people you idolize, people you look up to, indulge in that kind of language and talk about it, things like that, it also makes you feel that it's okay, and it's not okay.
Normalizes it.
It normalizes, and it's not okay, and hence films like, it was a very small experiment making a film like Double XL, but the idea was that how do you take somebody who people say should not be center stage, people like you should not, or rather do not deserve to be in front of the camera, and make them mainstream. And that's what we are trying to do with popular culture, because when you make these things, shows like this, conversations like this, when you talk about it, because हमारे culture में ये होता है ना कि just brush it under the carpet, let's not address the elephant in the room, quote unquote. But that's not the idea. You have to talk about it. You have to tell people that it's not okay. You have to educate them that this kind of language will not and should not be tolerated, because it's really not okay. And I think these kids are really wonderful, the way they've expressed themselves today.
Yes.
I think it's
Truly.
It's really wonderful to sort of, be in front of your teachers and parents, discuss what is really going through. And we have to listen to them, and we have to address it, because this takes a lot of courage for these kids to tell us what their issues are. So I hope we're able to do something for them as a society, because this is really our responsibility. This one is on us.
बिल्कुल. और बॉडी शेमिंग हुमा बहुत ज़्यादा कॉमन हो गया है और इतना नॉर्मल हो गया है कि किसी को कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा होता है, चाहे वो सोशल मीडिया प्लेटफॉर्म हो, बिना ये सोचे कि सामने वाले को क्या फील होगा, कमेंट्स किए चले जाते हैं लोग, किए चले जाते हैं. जब आपने डबल एक्सल बनाई, किस तरह के जो रिस्पॉन्सेस थे वो आपको मिल रहे थे? क्या ऐसे लोग आपके पास आए या उन्होंने आपको इनबॉक्स किया कहीं ना कहीं कि ये कहीं ना कहीं हमारा टॉपिक टच हुआ है?
बिल्कुल. और जो सोशल मीडिया की पहले मैं बात करूंगी, आपने जो बोला वो बिल्कुल सही कहा, क्योंकि गाइज मैं एंटरटेनमेंट बिजनेस से हूँ, आप लोग हमारी फिल्में देखते हो, हमें मैगजीन कवर्स पे देखते हो, हमारा इंस्टाग्राम देखते हो, हम में भी फ्लॉज हैं, कोई परफेक्ट नहीं होता है, कोई परफेक्ट बना ही नहीं आज तक. There's a whole production that goes behind those airbrush images that you see. That is not reality. So when little boys and girls look at that and feel, oh, I don't look that way, so there must be something wrong with me. There is nothing wrong with you. And unfortunately, we are trying to, एक narrative है कि एक ही तरह की सुंदरता अच्छी होती है, या एक ही तरह की बॉडी या शक्ल या नाक या बाल सुंदर होते हैं. ऐसा बिल्कुल नहीं है. आप सब सुंदर हो, आप सब बहुत खूबसूरत हो, क्योंकि आप सब यूनिक हो.
बिल्कुल.
अगर हम सब कुकी काटर बन जाएंगे, एक जैसे दिखेंगे, तो फर्क ही नहीं पता चलेगा ना.
बिल्कुल. कला सेन गुप्ता हमारे साथ हैं. कला मैम, इस एज में बॉडी जिन चेंजेस से गुजर रही होती है, आप उसे किस तरह से देखते हैं? सबसे ज्यादा जरूरत इस वक्त किस चीज की होती है?
देखिए, जहाँ तक प्यूबर्टी के टाइम पे जो भी बॉडी में हार्मोनल की वजह से चेंजेस होते हैं, वहाँ पे यदि फीमेल के चेंजेस के बारे में बात करें तो शायद वहाँ पे मदर अपनी बेटी को बहुत अच्छे ढंग से हैंडल कर सकती है. तो किस तरह की प्रॉब्लम्स वो फेस कर सकती है, यदि शुरू से एक्सपोजर दिया जाए, यदि हम मेंस्ट्रुअल पार्ट उसके बारे में बात करें, तो यदि मदर जैसे लगता है कि अब बेटी इस एज में आने वाली है, वो उसको पैड के बारे में बताना शुरू कर दे, हर मंथ की जब वो निकालती है वो बेटी से निकलवाए, तो इस तरह से हम मेंटली प्रिपेयर कर सकते हैं बच्चे को। इसी तरह से उसके बॉडी साइज या उसके ब्रेस्ट या जिस तरह के जो भी चेंजेस उसमें आते हैं, इसी तरह से बॉयज़ में जो हार्मोनल चेंजेस आते हैं, उनकी वॉइस में चेंजेस आते हैं। तो यहाँ पे पेरेंट्स को बहुत ज़रूरी है बच्चे को दिखाना कि किस तरह के चेंजेस आएंगे, उनको मेंटली प्रिपेयर्ड करना। सेकंड थिंग है कि मदर उसको द वे दे आर, उनको वो एक्सेप्ट करें। यदि मोटे हैं तो वो अनकंडीशनल लव बच्चों को यदि मिल जाए पेरेंट्स की तरफ से, तो बच्चे में सेल्फ कॉन्फिडेंस, सेल्फ स्टीम जो हम आजकल बोलते हैं, शायद उसकी कमी कभी नहीं रहेगी।
All right, so ma'am Sengupta's, talked so much emphasis on the role of mothers. What about the role of fathers? Let's talk about that. We had one parent here talking about how your confidence really came from the fact that you were, the center of your dad's eye. We have a teacher here, Sabina. Could you address that a little bit?
I personally feel that when it comes to parenting, it's both parents and what they bring to the table for a child, and the child's confidence is very important when it comes to body image and self-image. And I also feel that somewhere all of this narrative is also very internalized. We're constantly holding ourselves to a standard and probably trying to meet a standard that's very, it's not possible to meet it at all levels. But when it comes to the place of a dad in, let's say, a child's life, it's also their first hero and also the first guy that they look up to, and probably all men subsequently and consequently in their lives are modeled after the dad. So what the dad says and what kind of input they get from the father becomes extremely important. And I think it also becomes very important for both the parents to possibly contribute to building the self-image of the child, and this should not be reliant or incumbent upon either of them, as it should be incumbent upon the whole society. And also the fact that what we are constantly being fed in terms of the social media, I mean, there have been times when I found it hard to accept my picture without a filter. So, it's because, and you have to really work towards getting yourself to a point where you say, this may be the accepted norm, but this may not be normal. And normal is very different from the accepted norm. And in fact, I have had several talks with Rupali over here about her unibrow and how that probably, made her feel a little sort of not belonging to the ranks, and she would like to talk about that as well.
We would love to hear you.
So I actually believe that my unibrow is my luck, because constantly I've been told by my peers that it's not one of the set standard beauty norms and how I would be prettier if I take it off. Honestly, I do not understand who decides that an odd feature of my body is actually bringing down my beauty rather than enhancing it.
Ma'am, my question to you is, how should we deal with the social pressure of conforming to the beauty norms created by the people around us?
पीयर प्रेशर को सबसे पहले यदि हम देखें तो यहाँ हमारा जो माइंडसेट है, मैं अपने बारे में क्या सोचती हूँ, मैं अपने बारे में क्या जानती हूँ, या मैं क्या हूँ, यदि मेरे को इसमें क्लैरिटी है तो शायद किसी चीज़ का मेरे पे फ़र्क नहीं पड़ेगा। दूसरी चीज़ है कि पीयर प्रेशर में आने के लिए क्या वो चीज़ जो वो बोल रहे हैं मेरे फ़ायदे की है कि नहीं है। कभी कभी हमें सेल्फिश होना पड़ता है, यदि वो फ़ायदे की है तो एक्सेप्ट इट, यदि वो मेरे फ़ायदे की नहीं है तो सम टाइम बी असर्टिव, नो बोलना भी आना चाहिए। तो इस तरह से हम पीयर प्रेशर को हैंडल कर सकते हैं।
There is a difference in the way one brings up a matter of body and complexion. How does one understand the difference between a advice or a taunt?
यहाँ पे जहाँ तक एडवाइस और उसके बारे में बात कर रहे हैं आप, तो यहाँ पे आपको देखना है कि आप अपने बारे में क्या सोचते हो। सबसे पहले तो आप अपने को जानो कि आप क्या हो, अपने से क्वेश्चन करो। मेरी कुछ कमियां भी हैं तो मेरे साथ मेरी कुछ अच्छाइयां भी हैं। अब एक बुराई के लिए आप अपनी सारी अच्छाइयों को छोड़ के उसको लेके आप एक नेगेटिव थॉट डेवलप कर लो, उसमें टाइम वेस्ट करो। I think that is not positive. So think about your positive things and work on that thing.
बिल्कुल, ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट बात कला मैम आपने कही है कि कोई एक बात आपको ऐसा कोई कमेंट कर देता है या ऐसी कोई बात कर देता है, वो बहुत ज़्यादा असर करती है, लेकिन जो बहुत सारे कॉम्प्लीमेंट्स मिले होते हैं या जो हमारी स्ट्रेंथ होती है उसको कहीं हम साइड कर देते हैं। उस बात का ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि हमारी स्ट्रेंथ क्या है, हमारी अच्छी चीज़ें क्या है, उन पर हम बात करें। अभी बहुत कुछ है इस मुद्दे पर बातचीत करने के लिए। हम छोटे से ब्रेक के लिए यहाँ पर रुक रहे हैं, फौरन हाजिर होते हैं।
We all change and we all feel. We all see and we all judge. We're all victims as much as we're perpetrators. But no one stops to ask, where does this cycle start? Well, that's one thing I think I know. It starts with our objectification. Women are shamed and women are taunted in the name of not being woman enough. Is that not peculiar? For many a times the culprit is a man. We're told to dress a certain way. We're told to talk a certain way. We're told to act a certain way, think a certain way, be a certain way. Beauty standards. I am my own person, not an object up to your scrutinization. And I am sick of being told and seeing others around me endure the too talls, too shorts, too skinnies, too fats, too louds and too quiets. And then we're told that everyone is beautiful, and we're told that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Is this not hypocrisy? Is this not dichotomy within oneself? I am not up to your interpretation. I am not a concept. I am not a sculpture, and I am not a mystery. I am me, and I always will be. Your beauty test has crushed many, but it will not stop me. Not before I stop it.
Thank you for that. Welcome back. We're calling this section Style Isn't What Size You Wear, It's How You Wear Your Size. And by that, we mean your very own individual personality, your attitude. That is unique to you, and if you own it, you will be uniquely stylish. And we have like this young lady over here, though I have to say when I was in school we certainly weren't allowed to dress like this. Principal Sadi, I mean, hats off to you.
I saw that and I was like, I love it. I wish I could do that.
All right, go ahead. Your thoughts.
So hi everyone, I'm Navya. You can clearly see that my hair is green. And I found this little transformation, this little style during the pandemic when I thought the world was ending. So I was like, just why not? So I dress in a style that's not traditionally feminine. I dress in a style that's usually known as punk or emo. And when I go to the mall, I get weird looks, but that's fine with me, whatever. I don't really care. But it hurts when it's family members who do it. So I actually went shopping with one of my aunts for a wedding, and she showed me this really pretty pink lehenga, and which would show off my belly, and I would look pretty in it, traditionally pretty. And I told her that it's not me, that's not who I am. It is pretty, but again, not me. And she asked me, what would you wear, a suit? And I was like, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it, me wearing a suit. But then when I went back home, I started questioning that maybe I should start dressing in pink, that maybe I should wear a lehenga or wear clothes that show off my belly, that, you know, make me traditionally pretty and traditionally feminine.
We're always searching, and let's ask Julian. Julian, we started the show with you. Have you found, we're nearing the end, have you found yourself? Have you found what you were searching for?
I think I would like to start this with a quote which really inspires me, and it is that if only you could find the difference between who you are and who you could be, it'll blow your mind away. And during the process, I think I found who I could be, and I found my potential, and I found who I want to be. But I'm just 16, right? I have so many experiences in life to still discover, and so I think I'm still in the process of becoming that girl that I discovered.
हुमा, अब आपके पास आना चाहूँगी, क्या एडवाइस आप देना चाहती हैं? आप जब से आई हैं तब से आप कुछ ना कुछ डेफिनेटली बोल रही हो, और ऐसी बातें बोल रही हैं जो वाकई लोगों के दिलों पर असर करता है, और आप जिस इंडस्ट्री से हैं वहाँ लोग बहुत ज़्यादा फॉलो करते हैं आप लोगों को, बहुत ज़्यादा सुनते हैं आप लोगों को, क्या एडवाइस आप देना चाहेंगे? और यहाँ पर ये भी मैं पूछना चाहूँगी, व्हाट इज़ इट दैट सेट्स पीपल अपार्ट फॉर यू?
यार यहाँ पे ना आके तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा क्योंकि मैं खुद दिल्ली से हूँ एंड आई कैन सी माई सेल्फ इन दीज गर्ल्स. मतलब मैं भी कुछ साल पहले ऐसे ही ऐसे यूनिफॉर्म पहन के विद दिस आई वाज स्ट्रगलिंग विद द सेम कॉन्वर्सेशंस, इश्यूज, ऑल ऑफ दैट. तो आई रियली फील कि मैं अपने घर वापस आई हूँ. और एडवाइस तो पता नहीं, मतलब मैं सिर्फ ये बता सकती हूँ कि यू कैन जस्ट लिव योर ओन ट्रूथ. अपनी सच्चाई आप जिए. और हमारे ऊपर ना लड़कियों के ऊपर, लड़कों के ऊपर भी बहुत प्रेशर होता है कन्फर्म करने का कि आप भीड़ का हिस्सा बनो, स्टैंड आउट ना करो. पर भीड़ का हिस्सा बनना क्यों है? आई थिंक आप किसी भी पेरेंट से पूछोगे, टीचर से पूछोगे, प्रिंसिपल मैम मेरे बगल में बैठी हैं, उनसे बोलोगे कि आप क्या चाहते हो कि आप बच्चे जो है वो एक भीड़ बने कि वो इंडिविजुअली उनके पोटेंशियल को रियलाइज करे. तो आप जो हो, आपकी जो खूबसूरती है, आप उसको अगर रियलाइज करोगे तो आप यूनिकली डिफरेंट हो. आपके कर्ली बाल हैं, किसी के सीधे बाल हैं, बट वो अपने आप में खूबसूरत है. तो माई ओनली एडवाइस इज कि मतलब आई एम नॉट मतलब एनी टीचर और व्हाटएवर, आई एम जस्ट टेलिंग यू कि जो मेरा एग्जाम्पल है, मैं अपनी रियलिटी जी रही हूँ कि अच्छा मेरे बाल ऐसे ही अच्छे लगते हैं तो ऊपर बांध के शायद किसी और के अच्छे लगेंगे, बट आई कैंट कॉपी यू. And fashion also, we all love fashion, and I'm sure as young girls we all enjoy fashion, makeup, everything. But don't do it because you want to look like somebody. Do it because it looks good on you.
बिल्कुल. कुछ और गर्ल्स भी है जो आपसे सवाल पूछना चाहती हैं.
If you could change one thing about today's beauty standard, what would it be?
For there not to be a standard at all. Why should there be a standard?
Very good.
Huma, do you have any questions that you would like to ask these students?
What do you feel like currently is the biggest expectations you guys deal with? Like what do you feel like, what is that burden that you constantly feel as young women growing up today?
Can I?
Yeah?
I feel like it's looking elegant because since childhood it's drilled into our brains that, oh, you should sit with your legs crossed and look pretty and be polite and say sorry. But that's not, and it's not being said to guys. So it's just not
And
fair.
you feel when you don't do that, like they make you feel less like a girl?
Yes, absolutely.
Self-confidence should not be dictated by looks, but it really does. So how can we overcome it?
I just want to tell you that you're a very, very beautiful and a very, very confident young girl for asking that question.
Yes.
And as long as you believe that you're beautiful, everyone will see that beauty in you. But if you believe that you're not beautiful, nobody will see that. So you have to see it. And you're strong, you're vocal, you're beautiful, and you ask that question very beautifully. So thank you.
My name's Samana. I feel like there is no one attribute that makes me unique, because I know that there is someone out there in the world that has the exact same thing that is one quality. I feel like it is all of the qualities, all of my attributes that make me unique as a person.
सारा एक अपराजिता है जो बहुत देर से सवाल पूछना चाह रही है कला मैम से.
How can you protect your dreams, your goals from this peer pressure of body shaming? Because when you go through body shaming, that is actually the time when you have to study, you have to see your goals, but you spend more time on making yourself pretty instead of studying. So how can you protect your goals from that?
So look at yourself in the mirror. Okay? Have a big smile on your face. Smile, show me your smile. Yeah, exactly like that. Okay? Touch your heart. Do it. Touch your heart and be like, I'm beautiful, I'm loved, I'm special. And there's only one of me in this whole wide world. And you have to tell yourself that every single day. And then everything else does not matter.
Thank you so much. I think that is a wonderful positive note to end on. The only point I would like to add at the end of all of this is that let's remember we've raised pointed fingers at parents, at mothers, at fathers, at brothers. Let's remember it starts with us. How we react, how we treat our friends, it all matters. We're all part of the system, so let's make sure it ends with us.
बिल्कुल. और ये बात हमें भूलना नहीं है यहाँ पर कि एक दूसरे का साथ हमको सबसे पहले देना है। यहाँ पर जो चेंज शुरू होगा वो खुद से शुरू होगा। फिर इतनी सारी गर्ल्स हैं यहाँ पर, एक दूसरे का साथ हम देंगे, हम समाज को आगे बढ़ाएंगे, क्योंकि एक ऐसी पहल है जो हमसे शुरू होगी, जैसा कि सहरा ने कहा, और हमसे शुरू होकर ही हम पूरी सोसाइटी को भी यहाँ पर चेंज कर सकते हैं। आप सबने अपने व्यूज दिए, यहाँ पर आप सब मेहमान आए, आप सभी का बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। तो हमारी इस खास पेशकश में इतना ही। नमस्कार।